It's that time of the month where we tune in for Jay.
Well, that was really, really crazy weird. It just like died on me. I don't know what my animations were doing, but hey, everybody, we're back. It's Quarantunes without the acoustic sets in people's living rooms. Isn't that great? Anyway, I'm Jay Vix. Played in RedRover a long time ago, and I run the New Jersey pop punk group of the late 90s, early 2000s. Many of you know who I am. Many of you might not. So I just wanted to say hi. Anybody that remembers what I was doing throughout Quarantunes when we had concerts through the pandemic from people's living rooms, we had a fun time hosting those. Of course, when life got back to normal, and real shows came back around again, we kind of got away from that. But over the last year or so, we've had a couple of fun interviews. Tonight's going to be another one of those fun interviews. And yeah, my background might look a little different. I'm actually in my work studio. So, you know, it's kind of nice. I used to have to pretend or try to be as quiet as possible so I wouldn't wake my child up. And now I have a place to go where I don't have to worry about waking anybody up, which is kind of nice as a parent to have a place to go. But without further ado, I want to bring up my friend now. Jarrett and I have known each other for over 20 years, probably 22, 23 years, and always been friends. Our bands used to play together. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about his old record label, which we were a part of, Decibull, and we'll probably talk about that and a whole bunch of other really cool stuff, including his old band Houston Calls reuniting, and they have some shows coming up in June in New Jersey. So I hope you have tickets. If not, sorry. All right. Well, here he is. What's up, buddy?
Hey, brother.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm well. You know, how are you? Let me ask you that first.
I'm well as well. You go first.
All right, cool. Well, it's interesting because, you know, I just saw you for the first time in like 20 years, like physically saw you recently. Of course, the circumstances weren't that great because our mutual dear friend, Rob Heiner, had a stroke, and he was in the hospital at the time. But it was really, really cool. So I'm going to kick this off with something really current because I went to your bagel shop, which is way more than a bagel shop. Like Bagels by Jarrett is like, yeah, it's like Michelin 5-star cuisine out of a bagel shop. So talk to everybody. Tell us a little bit about that and what you've been up to, and then we'll reminisce on the past.
Oh, I'm all over the place. No, so I 3 years ago, almost to the date, we actually opened on leap year, February 29th of right before COVID hit, right before the pandemic. I opened 3 weeks before it. I had started making bagels at home. I did it for a couple of years, and the bagels are great. And Tom Kiger, singer of Houston Calls, his brother came over for a brunch one day, and I made bagels. And he was like, "These bagels are great." He's like, "Why don't you open the shop?" I'm like, "I don't have any money." And he's like, "I have money." I'm like, "Cool, let's go." And long story short, ended up opening the bagel shop. COVID hit. We turned into like, I now classify. So I used to say the Allie, my wife, when we would go away on vacation, like when people ask you, like you're in the pool talking to other couples, you're like, "So what do you do for a living?" Like it's such a normal question, right? And I don't know what to say. Like I was a producer director for video content. I own customtourpasses.com still for like 15, 20 years, whatever that's been. And I own a really weird takeout place that's called a bagel shop, but it's not. I don't know. So I own an upscale takeout restaurant. That's literally what I call it now.
You legit do, by the way, and also I want to make mention that if you have any comments or questions throughout the night, put them in the comments, and we'll put them on the screen. As a matter of fact, Courtney Miller just said that Bagels by Jarrett is far and large the best bagel place in New Jersey. I would have to agree.
Thank you.
So
Courtney
and
Jay.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. You know, I went in. I got to tell everybody the story because it was so nice of you, and I know you probably don't really want like the humble brag, but I'm gonna give a little bit.
There's nothing humble about me.
Yeah,
like I'm honest, like straight up. Like
so, I come in. I write you on Facebook. I say, "Hey, I told you what happened. I told you where I was, and I said, but I want to come down and see you. I want to get some food. I want to bring it back to Rob's family." You said, "Come on down." At 9:30 in the morning. I walk in, hugs. How are you? Good to see you. Coffee in front of me. You just told me, sit down. I'm going to feed you. literally your words. Sit down, I'm going to feed you. And you also warned me. You said, I don't care that it's 9:30 in the morning and it's breakfast time. I'm going to feed you. And literally, oh gosh, pizza, a bagel, of course, the one that's
It always starts with an everything bagel.
the everything bagel.
That's my rule.
Right. So the bagel. Then we had a Caesar salad. We had a lawsuit fried chicken. I had pizza. I don't remember what else I had, but then you sent us home with a whole bunch of stuff, and it was absolutely amazing. And all at a kind of, I tried to give you money, you jerk. You wouldn't take any of my money either. So don't now I say that probably not live. Don't think that you're gonna go in there and Jarrett's just gonna be like, here's a bunch of food for free.
You can't even go in there, to be fair.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. To be fair, you can't go in there. But look, I know that you were doing it because you love Rob and to help out, and that was really, really generous. But I swear the food was absolutely amazing, and it's definitely not a bagel shop. So
no, I mean it is, but it isn't. I don't know what it is. I know it's an upscale takeout restaurant. That's
upscale. It's an upscale takeout restaurant called Bagels by Jarrett. Cool.
Absolutely.
Scotty Kivowitz. I always love seeing Scotty Kivowitz pop in. He said Jarrett dove into the food biz face first.
I get it.
And that was a good one, Scotty.
I see where he went with that.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And Courtney said, would love to see Bagels by Jarrett and a pasta shop collab.
Oh, I would love to. I would be honored to do a collaboration with Tommy at the pasta shop. Courtney said she would love a pasta shop and BXJ collaboration. I don't know. Tommy at pasta shop is really good. He came by actually on Sunday for this.
Really?
Shop. Him and his buddies came by and did the folding chef's table, and I fed them till they needed a nap. That guy's got. Now I'm like totally gonna get off track off the bat, but when you start making awesome food, like really awesome food that you care about, not just like, we can make money off this. Like when you just focus on making amazing food and it makes you money, that's great. When you focus on just making amazing food, it becomes really difficult to go out to eat because you pick at everything. And I'm gonna put it aside. Like I can be cool tonight. I'll be chill. I'll be fine. But and like you can't. Like you just can't. You don't have it in you. You're just looking for perfection. And Tommy from the pasta shop in Denville is one of those people. So Courtney, yes, I would love to do a collaboration with him. It's phenomenal.
Amazing. So yeah, you now obviously I follow you. I'm friends. We see your stuff on Facebook, and I did see that you had gone to a place called the Pasta Shop in Denville, and you raved about that experience, and I think that's really cool. And I think it's nice to see businesses not trying to compete, or not. I mean, not necessarily not trying to compete. I mean, you're all trying to compete for dollars, but you don't have to. Like, there's enough money to go around. So it's not a competition. It's just, it's like you know what? It's almost like the scene was until everybody started signing to major labels. But it was like back in the day, it was like, let's help you get a show. I'll help you. It's like the same thing now. Let me help you
100%
support you. Yeah.
That's how I started the bagel shop. Was that it was who comes to see your band? Your friends, right? When your band starts and you suck, your friends come to see you. When you get good, or if you're good, then they tell their friends. The bagel shop was no different. I gave bagels out to people. I had friends. I created more friends with it. It took off. People told their friends about it. It's the same thing. I'm in West Orange, New Jersey. There's 42,000 people that live here, or something along those lines. Like, there's plenty of business to go around. Sure. We have no reason to argue or compete with each other or anything. We should be lifting each other up. Like, I treat my business very much like the punk scene. And that's why all the people I'm connected with in the food business are the best, awesome people. We have nothing to prove. Everyone's done it. Most of the people have done it for 20 years. I've done it for 3 years. But there's nothing, like, there's no arrogance with, like, again, we're not humble people. For the most part, we know our shit's the best. This is how we do it, and we'll help you to get there. We'll help you to do it. But like, we're not just like, oh no, mine's okay. We're like, no, we're proud of what we did. It's awesome, and we'll help you get there too if you want to get there. And the amount of people that it's a competition, or why is he doing this business? Or I'm going to copy this or that, and you're just like, we could all be friends. Like, I get to hang out with the best pizza maker. I've been doing pizza for 6 months. I get to hang out with the best pizza makers every month in New Jersey. And they're better than New York. It's the best pizza guys in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, we hang out every single month together, and I've been doing pizza for 6 months. Like, but it's because of an attitude we have. It's a helping each other. I went to visit my buddy today. It's his day. It's my day off. His shop's open. His guys start going to make his dough. I'm like, oh, you do that with your dough? You do that with your dough? And then when I look, I'm like, yo, I'm taking a couple of those dough balls on the fucking around with them. And I
Right.
took some of his dough home. I brought it, went right to the shop, put it in my fridge. I'm gonna let it ferment for a couple of days. I'm gonna make pizza with his dough because that's what we do.
That's awesome.
There's no competition.
I absolutely love that. I think it's true, like that rising tide lifts all ships mentality, right? Like if we
Absolutely.
can make everybody get better, and that's why New Jersey pizza is the best in the world, and that's why living in North Carolina, I miss it. It's people say it's the water, it's this, it's that. Like it's just talent and good. It's just good food making.
You
So,
can't. The water's important. I
sure.
agree. It's not as important to the level that people say in Florida we can't get good bagels because you can't outbeat a good recipe. Is my opinion with it. Now you fight other things. You fight humidity. You fight temperatures. Like all of these things when it comes to bagels or pizza, things along dough in general.
Right.
It does factor in. And I'm no expert by any means. I'm a good cook. Okay, I'm not a baker. Somehow I'm making really good bagels and really good pizza. I'm not a baker. You can't outbeat a good recipe. You
Yeah.
can't.
I like that. I absolutely love that. All right, cool. Lots of food. I already ate dinner, but I'm not now. I'm starting to get
What'd you
hungry.
have?
Now I want pizza and a bagel. So
What'd you have for dinner?
actually funny you should ask. My wife found a recipe on TikTok, which was like a chicken thigh cubed up. You mix it with a bunch of seasonings, paprika and onion, garlic, salt, and all that. Put in some cherry tomatoes and some oregano, parsley, garlic, onions. You stir it up, then you put rice in there. So it was really chicken and rice, really.
Okay.
And then
That's what I had. I
you
literally
some
had
water.
chicken and rice for dinner.
And it was a chicken and rice with chicken thighs, and it was so good. My wife and I were talking about how probably underrated chicken thighs are for like a piece of chicken. Like chicken thighs are amazing. So we really.
I literally had chicken and rice for dinner. So
That's
well done.
I did
It's a good
too.
Monday meal. It's a healthier meal,
Yeah,
right? You don't kill yourself from that Sunday night. I had pasta and pizza and Chinese food and things along those lines. In North
absolutely.
Jersey. A little healthy on the Monday night. I like it.
I like it. All right. Well, cool. Good. So congratulations on the success of that. I think it's absolutely amazing. I think every time I come up to New Jersey, I'm going to let you know because I'm going to want to get my fix now.
I hope
And
so.
and it's awesome. So, all right. You and I go way back, like way back. You played in a band called Face First. I was a kid going to punk rock shows. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, I joined a band called RedRover. And the guys that were in my band, John Randall and Cameron Fazelport specifically, they played in a band prior to RedRover called the Billy Rivers. Right.
Yep.
And they loved you. And they absolutely loved Face First. So I think you knew those guys before we did, but when did you get into Face First? I'm sure there's a lot of people, and the reason I'm going to ask you some of this stuff is because I'm sure there's several people listening who only know you from like what you're doing now and maybe not from back then. And then I'm sure there's a handful who will be like, all right, we know this, but as we walk down nostalgia lane or memory lane.
Yeah. There's an interesting mix here between the shop and the music stuff.
Yeah. Face First. How did that happen? Tell us a little bit about Face First.
So I was in Bergen County, New Jersey, and I moved to Morris County, New Jersey in the middle of 7th grade, which parents don't move your child, a male child, in the middle of 7th grade. That's why I am the way I am. So actually maybe do it or so, but it's definitely a tough time to like rip up the roots, right, and move a child. So I moved to Mendham, and I had no friends. I wanted to be with my old friends, etc. And I ended up meeting Tom Kiger, Tom Chitty, whatever you refer to him as, who was the original singer for Face First, and then we went on to do Houston Calls, and still one of my best friends to this day. And so I meet Tom, and I'm into like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, right? Like I'm listening to like 10, like Pearl Jam's 10 record, and like think I'm cool listening to Nirvana, a little into No Doubt, like getting into that. And Kiger's like Green Day all the way. But he had he's like Green Day had a record before Dookie on Lookout Records, and so we like look into it, we become friends, and it's like this like punk rock label out in San Francisco, Lookout Records, and we're like, this is cool. And we like, I remember he bought Punk Uprisings, I think it was called, which is a compilation they put out, and like Squirt Gun was on, all these like random like punk rock bands. And so we love it. And we're like, and like, you couldn't share music at the time. Like you had to like go to Tom's house to listen to the CD together, right? Like that's all you had. And eat sugar cereal at his house because his mom always got really good sugar cereal when we had no sugar cereal in our house. So like Tom had like the best of both worlds, good music and sugar cereal. And it's true. But so Tom and I started what we called the band Karma, which was like the worst, like looking back, like the most like not like we should have been like Fish if we were Karma. Like it was the dumbest name ever. And I forget, I think we went through like a couple things. I know Manifest Stupidity was in there. It's like really, really bad band names. And then we became Face First, like punk ska band. We looked up like Less Than Jake was one of like our big ones. We're like, let's do like pop punk with horns. Like that would be awesome. And that's what started Face First, was basically like Tom had moved to the town the same year, but he didn't move in the middle of the year. The middle of the year is a different animal.
Yeah.
There's one thing to like go in September 1st and you're like, oh, there's a new kid there. It's another thing to be like January 17th and they're like, who is that guy over there? Like, why does he have an earring? Like, what's going on? But yeah, Tom and I became friends, and we like, other kids were either like playing sports, doing drugs, or banging their girlfriends, and we were like writing songs.
Sure.
That's what we were like. That's what we did. And we wrote songs. We wrote terrible, terrible songs together. And I bought a 4-track cassette recorder and built a recording studio in my parents' basement that was entirely cinder block and just echoed. Like we had no idea what we were doing. I said to Tom, I remember, I was like, what? It was May 23rd, 1996. That's the exact date. And we went to the music store. I'm like, well, am I going to be a drummer or like a bassist? Because he was a guitarist. And anyone at that age would be like drummer, because you need a guitar and drums. You don't even know what the bass does. He's like, bass. I'm like, okay. And I bought my bass. Yeah. I'm looking around, like, I think it's in here. I may have to grab it. To the bass with all the stickers on it.
Yeah. I remember it very well.
I still have it. It nearly burned down when my house burned down. And it was like, grab the dog, grab my phone, and grab the bass. Get out. It is. I can actually see it over there. I'm going to grab it soon. Awesome. But yeah, that's basically how Face First started.
That's awesome. So now that's when I met you, you were playing in Face First. We do have a quick question, so we might want to come back to it, but I guess now is just as good as any. So Courtney Miller asked, what are your guys' favorite punk bands? So now we both have a long history of listening to punk bands, but I always feel like when I say my favorites, I still go back to back then. Like, I don't think there can be a new favorite punk band that like just came out in the last 5 years. To me, I always go back to that time. But
fair.
If you had to pick 3 of your favorites, and I know no particular order, and I know they probably wouldn't, there's probably others that you'd feel bad for leaving out. If you had to just pick 3 of your favorites, who would that be?
Well, what's tough with Courtney's question is she uses the word punk.
Right.
And I think that for us, I'm 40. I think you're probably around how old I am, right?
I'm a little older than you.
Yeah. So what's our definition of punk, right? Like, what is a punk? Like, is Jimmy Eat World a punk band? Like, to me, they are, because we grew up in the same genre.
Same scene, right?
Like, they would tour with some of the same bands that we did. But if my daughter was like, what kind of music is Jimmy Eat World? I'd be like, they're a rock band, hun.
Right.
Right. But like, to me, they're a punk band. So is Jimmy Eat World an acceptable answer in this question? I don't know. Less Than Jake will always hold an amazing spot in my heart, and I will call them a punk band.
Yes.
Let's go back and forth so I can think about it.
All right. I'll give you a chance. I love the Less Than Jake one. For me, absolutely zero doubt about it. My all-time favorite band is Weston. So that's number 1 for me. So Weston would be mine. And then Courtney does agree that Jimmy Eat World for sure is OG punk, by the way.
All right.
So
I'm not going to use that though. I'm going to move on because I feel like I clearly said it. Bouncing Souls, definitely in that running.
That was my second one that I was going to say.
Well, now you don't have it anymore.
I don't have Bouncing Souls now. Okay. Well, they are my second. So then my second,
yeah, it's tough.
It's tough when we're trying to think of like favorites. Green Day.
Okay.
Green Day. Yeah, for sure.
I don't give them a lot of love recently, but I go back and forth with music. I overplay music. I'm very, very guilty. Alkaline Trio.
Yeah, they're definitely up there for me as well. Alkaline Trio's amazing.
I'm not there right now,
Yeah.
But in 6 months, I'm probably going to overplay every record they had. I just go back and forth. I bless the people that work for me when I have control of the Bluetooth speaker in the shop. Goddamn, the new Coheed record, I destroy like every crew member of mine, people who were not born in this country, etc., can sing every lyric to every Coheed song on the new record. Oh, thank you guys for not leaving me.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know who was in control of the music that was on when I came in that day, but it was a lot of like New Jersey stuff. Bigwig was on there and a bunch of stuff on that playlist. So I thought it was great, and it could have been yours. I mean, not Scotty Kibbutz agrees with you.
Nick's my GM. Nick has followed me through everything. So he was our merch guy for Houston Calls, traveled the world with us, came into me with video production managed for me. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm going to open a bagel shop. You want to work there? He's like, I'd be home for Judge Judy at 4 every day. I go, yeah, we're closing at 1.
That's fantastic. Yeah, he's a super nice guy too. I really enjoyed just chatting briefly with him. Yeah. All right, so my third, if I can't say Alkaline Trio, I'm gonna go one that actually kind of came on the tail end of all of our, well, not so much on the tail end of when you were playing in Houston Calls, but the tail end of me with RedRover. But I'm gonna have to say Against Me. I really always loved Against Me.
Fair.
Yeah, great band. Now there are other bands, for sure that we both love. Too many we have probably to list, but that's good. I think a couple of them is good. So we could have just talked. We could have probably just said like favorite New Jersey bands or something else, but I think we probably would have mostly the same list. But Courtney, that was a great question. Thanks.
But I told Doyle, I'm like, yo, let's do the podcast, and here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna drink the whole time. It's gonna be a 1 minute per thing, and Doyle's job as the host was to name one band, and I only got 1 minute to talk about that band, and then we moved to the next band.
I love that
60 bands in 60 minutes and like discuss it, my initial thoughts about them, etc. Like really, like Midtown. Like I could talk about Midtown forever.
Absolutely.
Forever. I talked to Doyle about it on his podcast. Like Midtown was an amazing band. They're so good. We were all so jealous of them.
Oh, absolutely.
They were like in a bus on their first tour. It felt like we were so jealous. I feel like there's so many of us in the music scene that could talk about Midtown for hours. Yeah. But I'm like, let's just do 1 minute per band. Let's go.
I think it's a good idea. I don't know if Doyle's if he's listening, if he's watching this or not, but that would be a great idea.
You and I will do it.
Yeah, we can do it. You know what?
Doyle, you've been warned. You're on.
It could be like 4 or 5 of us, and everybody have like a minute, and then we kind of get like this random perspective of how everybody felt and like brutal honesty. I think
we should bring Kiger in on that, because he and I are so different. That you would get completely different answers on everything.
That'd be amazing. I told you this when I was in the shop. Chitty lives like right up the road from me. He's in Durham. I'm in Greensboro. And I need to write him. I might write him right after this tonight and say, hey, I'm going to come to Durham. We're going to have lunch, and not you just pick the day and we're going to do it. Cause I've always gotten along so good with him, and I miss him, and we live so close to one another. We're literally 45 minutes apart. And then Doyle's another 45 minutes on the other side of him. Yeah, not even 30 minutes.
As we learned with our buddy Rob, who is doing well.
Yeah.
But life is precious.
It is.
And if you're 45 minutes from someone, go hang out once in a while.
Go. Yeah. Make the effort, make the time. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So, Chitty, if you're watching this on YouTube, because I know you don't do the Facebook, then we're making time. All right, cool. So Face First, you guys played for a while. Then RedRover, my old band, played with you guys a bunch, and we're gonna have. All right, Scotty, I'm gonna come back to your question in a few minutes. He talks about favorite venues. I think there's only one that I'm gonna say, but anyway, so we played, and then we were doing. We had tried to put out this split with the Dharma Boys, right? Another good friends of ours. They're a great band.
Great from band. Way ahead of their time.
Way ahead of their time. And tremendously talented musicians and go-getters in the scene. I mean, Antonio was like hands down, like he was just all in the scene, helping people with PAs and running this and running that. And he's driving, he did a lot. But so we were friends with them because Cameron from my band and all the Dharma Boys, they all lived in Haledon, and they had known each other. and we wanted to put out this split, and we recorded our 4 songs or 5 songs. I guess we had 5 songs on that. We had recorded 5 songs up at Nada in New York.
Yep,
and
John.
Yeah, with John Niclario, and it came out good. But I remember we didn't really have a label at that point. There was a couple of small labels that we were trying to do, and then we're like, maybe we'll just release it ourselves. And then the next thing I know, from knowing you and hanging out, you started talking to us. What do you remember about that time? And tell us a little bit about Decibull and that time period.
Great question. So Decibull Records, I started when I was 50, basically when I moved to Mendham, as I was saying, like when I became friends with Tom, I think a year later or so. So Face First was 1996, like 1996-ish, like right off the bat. Because I was like, we got to put a record out. Like, we got to, I was always a businessman too, right? Like what, and that actually goes back to the Midtown thing that we said, right? Like that they didn't play a single show until that EP was out. And we were all jealous. Like, how the hell did they have a record out without ever playing a show? We all played shows. It was so much hard work to put a record out. I was like, no, you idiot. Don't play shows till you have a record to sell. Right? Like, it didn't make any sense. Don't open a restaurant till you have food to sell at it. Like, like these are basic like things, but we didn't know it because we were young and dumb and just wanted to like be in the tour bus and play shows.
Right. Absolutely.
But I started the record label. I wanted to do a comp because we had that Punk Uprisings comp that I mentioned from Lookout Records. So I was like, and the internet wasn't what it was, but you could still kind of find enough. I think Yahoo was the search engine at the time. Right. And I think I found Master Discs or something like that in New Jersey, who you could press CDs through 1,000 piece minimum. And I'm like, well, if I could just get a bunch of bands together and like they'll give me a song, I'll get someone to do the artwork, I'll charge them all like $100. We'll put 20 bands on it. That's $2,000. It'll cost $2,000 to press this. I'll give them all like half the copies. They could sell them so they make money. Then I have all the other half of copies and I can make money for the work I did. Like, okay, let's do this. Sure. And I put out my first comp, New Jersey in the Nutshell, on Decibull Records. And no joke, and this is fucking hilarious when you think about it. The reason Decibull was spelled Decibull, like a bull, was because I didn't know how to spell decibel properly. I didn't know if it was L-E or E-L. So I was like, let's just spell it wrong. Because again, you couldn't go on Google at the time and search for it.
There was no such thing as a dictionary back then or anything. But
yeah. Like Decibull Records is spelled the way it is because I didn't know if it was L-E or E-L.
That's funny.
Like, so it's true. I didn't focus on certain things in school. Like I was at the payphone calling distributors instead of like doing homework.
Right.
Like I remember my mom, I was like, Mom, like, did those stickers arrive? She's like, yeah. I'm like, bring them to school. She's like, you need them to school. I'm like, bring them to school. I already sold some of them. Like, I gotta get these out. And my mother like literally brought like Face First stickers to middle school in the lobby of the school. I had a pager back then to communicate, and like I gave her codes. And it would be like 111 meant yes, 222 meant no, and then like 3 was like understood, like whatever. So I would get a like 444, she's here. Let me go out to the lobby and get the Face First stickers. Like I was hustling at that age.
Always have. You always have.
We didn't have cell phones. You had to communicate in pager code. Fuck, I lost my thought because it was so amazing that I forgot. But so I started Decibull. And I remember, so I've graduated. I've done the comps. I put out the Face First stuff, obviously. I think I did a sampler in between there, where it was kind of just like, if I get 3 other bands to pay for it, I can put Face First on it, right? So like they can pay for the promotion for Face First. I was never trying to like scam anyone out of something. I was just like, I don't have any money, so like, if I do the work, can I get some benefit for Face First?
Sure.
And then when it came to the RedRover Dharma Boys split, Face First had gotten our first record mastered at Capitol Records thanks to Drive-Thru Records at the time. And this is 1998, 99. So Drive-Thru hasn't blown up yet. We have a good relationship with Drive-Thru. There were some connections. I would let bands like the RX Bandits like sleep at my parents' house when they were on tour, and like my mom would like make them pancakes and shit, and like give them booze, and they were like, "Oh my god, this guy's amazing!" Like this like 16-year-old kid hooking us up. So that was like my into Drive-Thru, and I remember Drive-Thru has their first hit with Phoenix TX, and Phoenix CX, they like sell. I can't remember if it was MC or Geffen at the time. Always get those reversed now that I'm old and senile. But I remember being like, oh, like you could sign bands that they're going to be huge and then just sell them off. And that's how I looked at the split with RedRover and Dharma Boys. I'm like, these bands are both going to be huge. I'm going to put this out. I'm going to lock them into like 3 records, and then someone's going to pay me all this money to buy them, and then I can take all that money and really run a record label. It didn't go that way.
No.
But I'm still happy with that release.
I it's funny. I have in my new office, I have several posters, but the copy of that split, like my parents, my dad had gotten it framed, like a poster of it, and it was framed, and I still have it here in the office. I feel like at that time, it was we were so grateful, but at that exact same time, like maybe a couple months after the record release came out, I left the band, and it was when you look back, you're like, I did some dumb shit as a kid.
We were
right?
really dumb.
Like dumb stuff.
We were
And
really dumb. Our decision making was really poor.
it was poor.
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend who had parents had a lot of money, and I thought that was going to get serious, and I was going to have a hard time with touring, which is all I ever wanted to do.
Yeah. It wasn't an issue at that time.
It wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. You made up an issue.
I made up an issue.
Yeah.
And then I think back and I'm like, I was like such a dumb decision, but you live and you learn, and you look back, and then I too, though, I was really, really proud of that. I still am really proud of that split. And I feel like there was more music that we were practicing and writing at that time that was like, it made me even more proud. And some of those songs did.
Dharma Boys too.
Dharma Boys were
like they had some songs. I remember going to see them after the record came out, and I had a mini DV recorder. Like it was that tape that wasn't like an 8 tape. It was the mini DV tape, and they played a new song, and it was phenomenal. And I remember I never saved it, and I needed to use tape, and I didn't have any money to buy more tape, and I recorded over it. And to this day, I regret it. It was their best song ever. Wow. I don't think that song exists anywhere. And I recorded over it because I in high school when you graduate and you like that project graduation night.
Yeah.
I found this town that would pay me to record project graduation and the graduation. And I needed to use the tape again.
Oh,
and I recorded over this the best song they ever wrote.
Were you still in high school when Decibull we
no,
signed
I was
you?
out of high school for that. I was recording for high schools.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I was still like 19, 20 years old or so.
Okay.
I was in my first apartment ever. I remember John Randall came over with the mastered versions of your songs, and we were lightweights back then. I'm like, yo, I got 12 beers. Like, let's do this. And he's like on the floor, like drunk, listening to this. Like, out of what? Looking back, like it must have been a stereo system of some sort. He had like the master CD. Different world now, right?
Yeah.
Now I can like text you a song and you can listen to it. This is this is the only CD. Like, don't scratch it.
That's so funny. I just saw John too. I saw him when I was up there. I try to see him every time I go. He's living in Montclair. His wife and him, and they have 3 boys. Yeah, they're awesome. And he could probably still a lightweight drinking beer. So, John,
come lay on my floor and listen to RedRover songs whenever you're ready.
I think that would be an awesome thing to do, like this year sometime. Maybe Houston calls after party after the shows. No, but the funny thing about the Dharma Boys, because I've often spoken about how just talented they each were and what they could do. And Rob Heiner and I have had this conversation several times. Like Anthony Natal, the singer of the Dharma Boys, I think, personal opinion, not to offend anybody else in the New Jersey pop punk scene, I always thought he had like the best voice of any singer in that whole scene. Like there was just he could sing.
Yeah. I wasn't wrong. Like I found like the original Creed, but like, that's the best example. But like, I think I was right. Yeah. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was 19 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found some serious talent. Even Scott Drums was like, dude was spot on.
Oh, absolutely.
He was a rock star.
He's still very active in the pop punk group now too. He owns a deli.
Does he?
Yeah, in Halden.
What a terrible decision.
Inger his last name is Ingersven. And I don't know if I'm
really?
pronouncing that right. It's German, but he owns Ingersven's Deli in Halden. Yeah. He's in the group. But I have a funny story to tell about Anthony Natal, the singer. His mom, both he and Antonio Valenti, both their parents were they were both like first generation Americans. Both the parents were from Italy. Very Italian, spoke English, but it was weak. But I remember being at Anthony Natal's and we were eating dinner. His mom had made probably some type of pasta, and I don't exactly remember what we were eating, but I remember he was like shoveling it down. Anthony was, right? And I'll never forget this. And I do it in my best Italian immigrant accent that I can do, which is terrible. So forgive me, but I'll never forget it. When she came in the room and she says, Anthony. Oh, Anthony. He said, what, Ma? He says, Anthony, you better watch out or you're going to shit in your pants, Anthony. You're going to shit in your pants. I don't know why I remember these random things. It was like one of the funniest things. I like gut busted, but I always say that now. You're going to shit in your pants, Anthony. So anyway, moving on. Scotty Kivowitz, what were your favorite venues to play in New Jersey? Do you have a favorite place that you liked playing? I'll put it on screen.
Solid question. Bloomfield Ave was always awesome because it was a very forgiving room. I think it held 300 kids. If you put 150 kids in the place, it felt packed. You put 300 kids in, it was a fire hazard. They should have shut it down. There was no back door. You couldn't to get your amp in. You had to go through the crowd. So, while I always hated headlining because I always had the anxiousness of, are all these kids here for us, or are they here for the show and they're going to leave before we play? Hate it. And I've got stories about how we nearly bribed bands, as Houston calls on tour, to headline because we hated it. Bloomfield Ave was always fun. Bloomfield Ave was special.
Okay. I never got to play Bloomfield Ave. Now that was in Bound Brook, wasn't it? Was that in Bound Brook?
No, Bloomfield Ave was the Montclair.
Oh, that's Montclair.
About
Palace.
Shit. Well, the Palace was Bound Brook upstairs.
We played the Palace.
Very special for its time.
Yes. But Hamilton Street Cafe. That's the one that was in Bound Brook. Okay, yeah, I get that one with Bloomfield Cafe. I never played at either of those, but I mean, we did play the Palace. We played the Palace with Scotty's old band. We played with you. Everybody played the Palace.
You would see one cool guy there every weekend.
Yeah.
You had to go up those stairs. I remember I put a show on my birthday with 10 bands. Gave them all these huge guarantees. Didn't promote anything on it. I was like, we could put it on the internet, and the internet wasn't what it is now. And I'm like, but I saw what the internet could be.
Sure.
And people were like, you didn't flyer the show? I'm like, no, I just did the internet. And they're like, well, there's 40 kids here for 10 bands. And Gabe's like, yo, you owe me money. So
you still owe it to him?
No.
Okay.
My brother actually, I think, went to the ATM that night and took out cash to give to me. I was 15 or 16. So.
Wayne Firehouse for me, for sure.
Wayne Firehouse was special.
Wayne Firehouse was very special to us. I mean, obviously,
we got in the main room if you weren't on the side stage.
Right. Yes, that's true. I've done both. And you're right about that. We did the Ultimate Fake Book show. John Randall and I put on an Ultimate Fake Book show that we, of course, then if you're putting on the show, your band was going to play, right? So that's how you put on the show. Made sure you get on the show.
They started a record label.
That's why you started a record label, right? So, but that one was an interesting show. It was packed. It was when Ultimate Fake Book was it was like their first headlining tour between the Get Up. They were opening for the Get Up Kids, and then they were on tour, I think, with the Anniversary or somebody. It was like they were in this weird phase where they had signed to a major label, and I think it was just their first headlining tour. And we had seen them there, and they came back to Cameron's house and partied prior to that at a different show, maybe with the Get Up. I don't really remember the timeline, but then we put on a show and had them come back. And it was Lane Meyer's first, I think it was their first show with Brian Fallon singing after Chris had moved to California.
Okay.
And Humble Beginnings played. That was one of my favorite shows because we put it on. And I remember collecting enough. First of all, I wasn't prepared to run a show, like organize a show. I didn't have enough people.
What
Right?
were we doing?
I don't know. I remember having like a wad of cash and making sure that all the bands got paid well. Like I made right. Yes, just like that from
The
people
wet money.
It was ridiculous. I just had no idea, and I do remember that all the bands were really happy because I didn't know what else I was going to do with the money. Like all the bands just got paid well, and then the venue was paid for, so we made money. But had I planned it properly, well, I guess that is proper because the bands got paid well. I mean, I guess I could have
made it through. Yeah,
I made it through. Yeah,
you'd be really good at it now.
Yeah, I'm sure I'd be really great at that. Yeah. All right, cool.
Did you ever play the Obsessions?
I'm trying to think if I did.
This podcast, but now I'm curious.
No. I don't. I don't think that I ever did. I remember Obsessions. You'd have to sell tickets, and you were responsible for like, whether lack of success was your fault.
So the owner, his name was Bill, and he had a sketchy ass office in the basement of Obsessions, and it was in Randolph, New Jersey, right off the Sussex Turnpike. And he would somehow get like decent sized bands to play there. And I remember Face First. I think we may have still been like in the Karma going to Face First thing. And Let's Go Bowling, the ska band, was playing there. And we're
oh wow,
oh my God, Let's Go Bowling's playing there. If Let's Go Bowling hears us, they're going to tell their record label about us. We're going to get signed. We're like 16 years old, right? And we're like so we I approach Obsessions. You go there, you go into the basement with Bill into a sketchy ass office, and you're like, Bill, like Face First, we gotta play the show. And Bill's like, you gotta sell 100 tickets. And like, how much tickets? Like, $12 a pop, 14 at the door. And you're like, all right. So you go to high school, you're like, yo, you gotta come see us with Let's Go Bowling. Like, we gotta sell these tickets because Let's Go Bowling's gonna tell their record label we're gonna get signed. This is it. She just calls Face First big moment. And you sell like 60 tickets, pretty reasonable, like good number. And then you get to the day of the show, you're there, and Bill's like, "Where's the money? Where's the tickets?" And you're like, "Oh, we here's the leftover tickets." Like responsible. Here's the leftover tickets. Here's the money for 60 sold. Blah blah. He's like, "You're supposed to sell 100." Well, we sold 60. We're supposed to sell 100. You're not playing unless you sell 100. Mom, can you ask Dad to take out some money so we can play this show? And literally your parent drove up and like gave you money to give to Bill in his sketchy ass office.
Oh my gosh. I've heard that story. I've heard the stories. Now the Cove in Roselle Park was almost the same way. It wasn't as harsh.
I will stand Jane Jubilee, I believe was her name.
Jane Jubilee, yeah.
Right?
Oh my gosh, I had forgotten her name.
Yeah.
Yes, Jane Jubilee.
She took a liking to me, and she was always cool with Houston. Or I keep going to Houston calls. I'm sorry.
We're going there. We're gonna get there.
And we never had any issues with it. We never paid to play there. Like Obsessions was our only pay to play place.
Okay.
So I know other people have Cove stories. I'm not going to protect the Cove, but we as Face First had good relationship with the Cove.
I do know that they had a good liking for ska bands. Like the Cove used to put on a lot of ska shows. I think Jane and I, she liked me too from talking to her, but I do remember that was one of those that they wanted you to pay for play.
Yeah. Where the fuck did she come from, by the way?
I have no idea.
Who is she? Where'd she come from? Where is she now?
Where's she now? I would love to know that.
If anyone knows a Jane Jubilee in the Roselle Park area,
yes,
I would love to know. She put on the award shows. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
Like Decibull won Best Award Show. I should have won. J Pinball should have won. Pinball Records was the coolest record label.
It was a great label.
Why the fuck did I win? That was a scam.
Yeah.
Jay, I'm passing it off to you, Mr. Durham.
Jane Jubilee. That was her name, and I would have never remembered that. I do remember going to White Castle. That was like right up the road there. Afterwards, I haven't had White Castle probably since the time, but
I honestly had White Castle like 2 weeks ago. And
did you really? I'm jealous.
Anytime my wife's like, "Honey, I don't care, I'm going to reheat leftovers," I become a monster on DoorDash. The worst thing my wife can say to me is, "I don't care what we get tonight."
That's brutal. Oh man, White Castle. All right, so we got time. It's It's 8:45. We still got some people that are listening to us ramble and tell stories. If you have any questions for Jarrett, go ahead and put them in the comments. Go ahead and ask him if you have, especially if you go way back with us, anything that we might not be covering that you think you remember or think you might remember, or rumors that you were told, if there were any, go ahead and throw it out there. Open book night. But anyway, so now, Rob Heiner, and Day, when he and Chris and Todd and well, it was Steve and then it was Dave. But anyway, when Day at the Fair were together, and they were on tour, I had already moved out of New Jersey because I left in 2002, and they were on tour with Suicide Pact from Pennsylvania. It was like they're like the first national tours before they did the tour with you guys, and that was Phoenix TX, wasn't it?
It's funny you say that, and I have a funny memory of Rob on it. But it was a Phoenix TX reunion tour with Alistair,
that was
Houston Calls, and Day at the Fair.
Okay,
and that was the worst tour of my entire life.
I think they had a hard time on that one too. I think
hard time's an understatement.
Yes. Okay.
That
good.
Tour was a monster. Go on.
All right. No, we're definitely going to come back to that one because that's what. But so we've often told the story. So they were on tour, and they were playing a show in Wilmington, but it was right around Hurricane Katrina. A couple days before that, they got stuck in Houston because they were supposed to play like New Orleans or somewhere in Louisiana, but the storm came through, so they were stuck in Houston. They had to get to the East Coast. They finally make it. I had been talking to this girl online on Match.com at the time.
Match.com.
Well, I'm getting me too. So, so our first is Allie watching? I think Devin might be home watching.
I think Allie's probably watching Netflix because she can watch whatever she wants right now because I'm not in there.
Probably what's going on in my house as well. I'm not home. So I've been talking to this girl online on Match.com. And I said, hey, my friends are in a band. They're coming. They're playing in Wilmington. I think it'd be a good place to meet for the first time. Like, we'll come to this show. So she brings her friend, and I had a friend. I was afraid of anything. My friend wanted to go see the bands too, but I think he was interested to see this girl that I was going to meet. But so Day at the Fair, Suicide Pact, and actually Jimmy from Weston's old band Cordova was playing that show as well. But yes, it was a Day at the Fair show that I met my wife, and I got to see all my friends, Chris and Rob, especially have always been close. I've always been close with them. And then, they go back to New Jersey, they're doing their thing. I follow them. I'm always, Rob's my best friend. I'm talking to him about that. And he says, have you heard Houston Calls? I said, who the heck is Houston Calls? It was Jarrett and Chitty from Face First and Okie. I remember this time at Okie too. Right. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no kidding. And I heard Bob and Bonnie for the first time. And to this day, one of my all-time favorite songs. I absolutely love that song. I feel honored that I got to meet Bob at that show in Charlotte that I was there at. But then I think one other time somewhere. But anyway, they had said they were going on that tour and that they were playing that you guys were all playing in Charlotte. So me and Devin drove up to the Charlotte show, and I remember seeing all you guys then. I know Chris Conti was selling merch on that tour for Day at the Fair. Conti, he's in Florida now, and just seeing Bob and Bonnie played live for the first time really blew me away. And when Chitty played on the Quarantunes, he played that song acoustic, and I've saved it to this day. And I'm like, I need to release this somehow to Spotify, like the acoustic version of that.
Yeah.
But anyway, you had mentioned a few minutes ago that was like the most awful tour. So tell me your recollections of that tour.
All right. So Phoenix, and by the way, let me preface with Bob and Bonnie is one of the most beautifully written songs ever.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
It is a phenomenal song. It's not true, but there are truths to it, right? Bob and Bonnie did not meet that way, etc. But they are the definition of true love. And they were my second parents growing up, right? So like my parents divorced, bankruptcy, lost the house, and I went and lived with Tom right out of high school and lived with his parents. And that was when I was booking the first Face First tour on their desktop computer contacting people. And Tom would go out with his girlfriend, and I would sit in the computer. Like, that's what people who are watching now, who are, if you're like under 30, people had computer rooms. They were called computer
rooms.
That's where your computer lived. And that's where I booked the tour. And his father would come, and Bob, as in Bob and Monty, would sit next to me. Like, well, where are you going to stay that night? I'm like, I don't know. We'll get a hotel. We'll figure it out. I think, no, I think it should be planned, blah, blah, blah. And like, would just be on me for it. Not important to the story. Phoenix TX reunion tour, Alistair. So Drive Thru Records goes, yo, and this is Houston Calls is taking off. All right. We are the coolest band at this exact moment. You're getting a tour, Phoenix TX reunion, Alistair direct support, but they're going to swap. Phoenix TX going to play one night, Alistair going to play the other night. Day at the Fair is going to be on it, and Houston Calls. And we're like, well, Day at the Fair should technically open. Houston Calls after that, and then the two headliners should swap. There's a little bit of arrogance, shit thrown in, etc. It's like, well, Day at the Fair thinks that like you should swap with them. Like in Houston Calls, I'm like, we'll fucking open, but we're crushing right now, and you're literally gonna have kids leave after we play. Like if doors are at 6 and we're on 6:30, half the room's gonna clear out by 7 because we're getting a half-hour set, and it happens, and it does it. We are the coolest band on the tour. Keep in mind, Phoenix CX shows up to maybe a quarter of the shows.
Wow. So they weren't even showing up.
They weren't even showing up. They had rented I call it a Winnebago, because I'm old, but like whatever, like
yeah,
they were. It wasn't a tour bus. Yeah. It was like a fake tour bus, and I forget what movie they had been in or something. They were getting checks from something, and like every X amount of time they would get checks, and we'd be like, "Where are you guys?" They're like, "We're at the mall shopping." We're like, yeah, "There's kids here to see you." I'm not even kidding. Like halfway through the tour, I remember being like, "I'm done fucking covering for them." Like I would lie. Kids would be like, "Yo, where's Phoenix TX at?" Like their merch booths. And I'm like, "Oh, so and so fell sick. Like they're at the hotel. They're not going to be playing tonight." Like, and we would just lie for them. And halfway through this fucking god awful tour, I was like, "They're pieces of shit, and they're at the mall. All right, they don't care that you bought a ticket." Like we were done with it. And then Alistair was becoming at the time like this really jaded punk rock band, and they were pissed that these young guns, Houston Calls, were crushing it. We were destroying everyone. And everyone, not Day at the Fair, but everyone else fucking hated us for it. Hate us. It was the most uncomfortable tour ever. We should have been the headliners.
Wow.
But we were the openers, and everyone was leaving after it. And if we did $5,000 in merch, Alistair did $300.
Wow.
And Phoenix X didn't even show up. It was a nightmare because everyone was mad at us. We were treated like shit because of it. I got arrested on the tour in Philadelphia.
Really?
We're in Philadelphia. I'm on the Atkins diet, which you new people call it keto.
Keto, right?
I was on the Atkins diet back then, which is called keto. I went to get a cheesesteak with no bread because I'm on the Atkins diet, and I'm eating a fucking cheesesteak with a plastic fork out of a bun. And I'm walking back to the venue in Philly, and someone runs up to me and they go, "Your drummer's being arrested." And I run up with my keto.
Your keto cheesesteak.
What are you arresting him for? What are you charging him with? The cops take my head, smash it against the ground, cut my head open, and lock me up for 30 hours. I go to jail. Literally jail in Philadelphia for 30 hours on that tour. It was also my one day off over a 3-month period because we were also recording a record and doing a tour. I wasn't going to be home for 3 months. It was the one day I was supposed to see my girlfriend at the time. Needless to say, she didn't appreciate the fact that I spent the time we were supposed to be together in jail. But I did.
Wow.
It was the most miserable fucking tour of my life.
So it sounds like it. They arrested you for just trying to find out what you were arresting.
Hindering and apprehension by rule.
Really?
Yeah. I had a sidekick. You remember the T-Mobile sidekick?
Yeah, it like slid, didn't it slide?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had AIM on it. And like it wasn't Facebook. There was no Facebook at the time. But AIM was like how you communicated. Like you put the way message up, right? Like you like if you were upset, you put a lyric up. And I remember I'm in my cuffs in the paddy wagon, and I can like kind of see it. And I'm like, I'm in jail in Philly because of my away message. Someone save me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude.
It was
That's
miserable.
crazy.
It was miserable.
Yeah,
And I remember
that's-
too, and that's actually where I was going to pick on Rob, because I can. We were somewhere. I want to say we were out in the like Colorado-ish or something, and it was Thanksgiving time, and like I hadn't been home in like 3 months. I was beaten and bruised, and I had miles like on my Continental Airlines like debit card that I had or whatever at the time. And I'm like, I just want to go home for Thanksgiving. Like, I can't be around these assholes anymore. And Rob, like, totally was like, "You're a pussy," and like, totally beat the shit out of me
Aw.
because I'm like on the phone with Continental. I'm like, "I have the miles." They're like, "You don't have the miles." And like, I'm trying to like, businessman Jarrett at this age, like, trying to justify that I have the miles to the woman on the phone at Continental Airlines at the time. And Rob's just like, "You're a pussy. Hang out." I'm like, "I hate you."
Rob,
Yeah, it was the worst 3 months, probably the worst 3 months of my life.
dude. All right. So, wow. I
digress.
hate that I made you rehash the worst 3 months of your life on
It's
here.
good.
After that tour, you guys were on this good trajectory. So you do this tour, you're second out of 4 bands, but your status is gaining. What happened after that tour? Tell me about like your next tour, the next couple of tours, or what'd you do? Give us a little bit more about Houston Calls.
Fair. So how I remember it is like, so we do that tour. Houston Calls takes off. Like the first record's doing amazing. We go international. We went to Japan, was actually our first international tour. And I don't recall if Australia or the United Kingdom was after that or flopped, whatever. Not important. Really cool to do Japan for your first international tour
I bet.
because it's international. Like you go to the UK for your first international tour, you're like, they speak the same language. Like things are different. Like, but it's the same thing. You go to Japan for your first international tour, you're like, where am I? Like, I there's a little documentary we did about our first tour, and I remember I'm like, is that like a bookshop or a restaurant? Like, you can't even tell. Like, it's so foreign. I remember thinking that everyone in Japan could still speak like naive, stupid, young, dumb. Like, well, they can speak. Like, if I walk into a Starbucks, I can still be like, like triple espresso, give me a little cream in there and some equal. What the fuck is equal? Like, we went overseas. Houston Calls first record, we destroyed. Like, we
such a good
crushed
album.
it. We did really, really, really well. And it was when we went to write the second record that kind of everything changed for us. And the music industry changed. Spotify was coming out. Like, not even those. It was iTunes actually at the time.
Yeah.
I remember our attorney when we were signing the first deal. He's like, "You can't give up 50% to digital," and we're like, "Why? Who cares? Records selling for $18.99 in Best Buy. Gives a shit about digital." Like for someone like me who was so advanced with the internet, creating like fucking buying new modems, putting them into computers to play video games, etc. Like, how did I miss this one? Right. And I did. And when it came to the second record, Drive Thru was in this weird spot. They had kind of, and respectfully, I could be wrong, but the way it came across us is they blew money on bad decisions that were more like heartfelt than smart. Right? They made a lot of smart decisions.
Sure, they did.
I remember they called their old house in California the house that Phoenix EX built. It was beautiful. You walked in, there was a stormtrooper, a legit replica stormtrooper. Had to be like $20,000 on this beautiful marble in this incredible home in Calabasas that looked over the mountains. Like, they were crushing it. And I think we came in just at the wrong time, if you will.
Yeah.
But everyone wanted to be on Drive Thru.
Right.
It was the cool place to be. And I don't regret any of it. The only thing I regret was for the second record, we started doing some math. I got a little bit back into my business sense, and I was like, "Yo, let's get off this label. Let's buy ourselves out. Let's put this next record out ourselves." Vinny from Less Than Jake was our manager at the time.
Okay.
And I won't go into like every little single detail, but we had secured a record deal in Japan. We'd secured the record deal in Australia. We're huge in Australia.
Wow.
You saw Houston Calls in Australia, you would think we were Less Than Jake or Jimmy World. We were insane over there.
Huh.
Japan did well too, but Australia was insane. UK, we were about to go on the tour over there with Yumi at 6, playing 2,000 kids a night, and we were going to meet with different record labels. Vinny from Less Than Jake got us a distro deal with a distributor, and the distributor was giving us more money to market the record than Drive-Thru was giving us to pay to record the record.
Wow.
Then I needed to secure the money to buy us out, which I did, and to record the record. I did all of this. I got all of it done. And at the last second, Drive-Thru went, no, we want to keep you. And that was the exact moment in time where I went, I'm done with music. I'm out.
Wow. That's crazy. So I know, are they still even a active label?
They're managing is my understanding
right.
at this point. And we're cool, to be fair. Like Richard, Stephanie, and I are like, we still talk. We're good. Yeah. But they're managing is my understanding at this point.
Right. Okay. A lot of people did. I mean, the traditional like record label at this point is like completely different because of digital and everything else. Like it's not a real, I don't know that it's as lucrative anymore, is it? I mean, what is a record label doing these days? I mean,
unless you're owning the publishing. So it went from like what a record label was, right? Like what we dealt with, like where it was like you want to actually sell CDs, like that was important. You want to get end caps in Sam Goody or whatever the music store is, right? Like you want your CDs to be up front, or you want to find collaborations. I remember like, there's like a sampler inside the Alternative Press magazine that you could get, things along those lines. And then it became what was referred to as a 360 deal, which we're getting some of your touring, we're getting some of your merch and all that. And that makes sense to me. And still to this day, that makes sense to me. You can get money off of these other things from the band. Now I have no idea.
Yeah.
The record label today, I would have no idea where you start.
That's what I was kind of thinking. I want to talk about, because we're coming to we've been in an hour, so we'll kind of start to wind it down. I obviously want to talk about what you have coming up. And just as you did that, did you notice my face got like red? So I don't know if you even noticed, but I have 3 monitors, but I guess I have it set.
I also have 3 monitors.
Do you really? I've got 3 monitors. And at 9 o'clock, I guess at 9 o'clock, my computer starts going into like blue light mode. And it's a setting that I did because somebody told me that when you're looking at your monitor, you're tricking your brain into thinking it's like noon. So I said, well, if I'm ever using my computer at night, I want the blue light filters to come on. Well, I didn't anticipate this scenario. And I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like looking at you talking and myself, and I'm like, I'm getting red.
I saw you looking. I was like, what the fuck are you looking at?
It just threw me for a loop for a minute there. I'm going to bring that one back up. And I'll just stay red now. We're good. All right. So I pretty much just probably like a lot of people thought, all right, Houston Calls did their thing, just like a lot of other bands. They, wrote it out, did their time, and now everybody's grown up and family, kids, and just I didn't think anything of seeing Houston Calls again or anything coming about it. And then of course, with COVID, doing we were doing the quarantine shows and trying to reinterject some life, into something, make something good out of this situation. And then Heath had played a bunch of stuff. Chitty had played on there a couple of times, and the Youth Ahead guy. Those guys.
Big Wig cover is the greatest thing that's ever existed. By the
Isn't it awesome? That whole Jersey interchange that Christian is doing, it was incredible.
It's all really well done, but Heath's version of the Big Wig song, I forget. He goes up on the note or so. It's brilliant. Go on. Sorry.
Anyway, no, you're right. Well, it was funny. I told Midtown, because I did an interview with Midtown, with 3/4 of Midtown. Gabe was flying is the story. So we talked with them. I had a great time talking with them. And Heath had told me that the fact that I did the quarantunes like brought him out of retirement. He hadn't even been playing his guitar. And he's like, Jay, if you didn't do that, I wouldn't have. And so I take credit for the Midtown reunion. Now that's I take credit, full credit for the Midtown. I'm just kidding.
I went to the first
look,
Midtown reunion at Crossroads before they did the whole reunion.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
That's
You told me
another
you went to
story.
that. Yeah. So I had them come on, and there's a lot of bands that just started. I think bands that were big back then, or just like Houston Calls, right? Big in the early part of the 2000s, right? I think maybe we all, and now in our 40s, start appreciating life and how precious life is, and
Absolutely.
how there are things that we might want to do, and try to reenact or relive or bring the nostalgia back and do a reunion. So recently, you guys announced, as Houston Calls, that you were going to get back together for a couple of shows in New Jersey this June. How did that how does that come about? You guys hadn't played in what, 12 years or something? 8 years? 8 years? Okay.
2008, so 8 to
14?
15.
Yeah, 15 years
15
this year.
years. I ran into, so Josh and I, the drummer, we're both hard-headed dudes. I can't put it any other way. And we ran into each other at the Midtown show at Crossroads, when Midtown was kind of like doing like a let's play for 100 kids, and like just like let's see what we got, right?
Right.
And I have plenty of drinks before I get there, and it's funny. I'm always the guy who's like, "Let me get you a drink. Let me get you a drink. Let me get you a drink." I walk into that show, and everyone's just like, "Here you go, Jarrett. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go." And next thing I know, I'm standing, getting ready for the show to start, thinking I'm late, and Josh is standing right in front of me. And Josh has been playing with May,
Okay.
who's a phenomenal band.
Yeah.
And he had been touring with them. And no matter what Josh and I had going on, I was like really proud of him. Like, Josh is amazing. Whatever Josh and I have with our own personal beef throughout the years of Houston Calls, Josh is a phenomenal drummer. And if I were Josh, I would never want to play with me as a bassist. I'm not good. I've never said I was good. I've held this from the start. So, is what it is. I run into Josh. We're talking. I'm like, dude. I'm really proud of you. I'm like, it's so cool to see you playing with May, and I stand behind it. I love May. I was tour managing Hidden in Plain View on one of their tours with May early on. Like, that's how I met May. And even down to go as far back, I'm 40 years old, right?
Yeah.
We were on tour with May. I had a fake ID because I was underage. We went to a bar after a show, and I got in with my fake ID, and everyone in May, who was way older than me, like one dude's a lawyer, like these guys are like, I'm not even 21, and the guy checking IDs calls the cops to be like, these underage people are trying to get in. Not me. My fake ID worked. May was stuck at the door.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I see Josh, and I'm like, I'm so proud of you, blah, blah, blah. And we have that. And then Kiger has this like epiphany, and he's like, if I don't do this now, I'm never doing it. And he reaches out to Josh and I. You guys want to do this? You want to do the reunion? And I'm like, I would love to do it. We've had these talks before, if we're going to be honest. The last time we tried to do a reunion, it lasted 5 emails before there was a fight. I'm headstrong. I'm opinionated. I got it. I know. And I was like, well, if we do it, our fans are now older, right? Like, I can relate. I have a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Buy the tickets, figure it out later. Get that concept. But like, I got a kid to worry about. Now I have a business to worry about. How's this going to work? And I basically say to Kiger, I'm like, I'm good. Let's do it. You want to do it? We'll do it. I'm going to stay out of it. Because if I'm in it, like I always was, I'm going to start a fight. And I stayed out of it.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, there are some decisions that have been made between the vinyl release and the shows, etc., that could have benefited from me jumping in, for sure. And the band knows it. And things have been talked about in group texts oh shit, what the hell happened here? What was you doing? Well, yeah, I stayed out of it.
Right.
I'm continuing to stay out of it. My job is to play the bass as best as I can for a couple shows, have a great time. And as we get closer, I'm going to go, did no one do merch? Okay, I'm making some shirts. I'm paying myself back first, but I'm making some this and that. But I have done everything. I know it's crazy. Like, respectfully, the band got where they did musically because of everything that everyone else besides myself did.
Right.
I would jump in and go, repeat that chorus once more. I was more producer side. I wasn't the writer. I was just like, that's a hit. Repeat it. Do that chorus again. Double the chorus or whatever, right? Like speed it up a little bit. Like little tidbits.
Tweaks.
Yeah. Like on the producer side.
Yeah.
But I'm like, can you guys send me the tab to play bass again for these songs? And that's a true story. Like right now, like Jose just sent me 3 songs to practice. And I practice them today. I'll practice them tomorrow. Like I'm not a musician.
Yeah. I'm not saying that about you. I'm saying I relate because I always felt that way in RedRover. Like I was never really a bass player. I like to talk and jump around and have fun and be crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what made me like my stage presence was way better than my musical talent. So when you say that, I'm not saying that as like, yeah, that's right. You're not a good bass player. I mean, like I am totally on that level. Like I'm right there.
I look at you and like you're a god compared to me. Like I'm terrible. I have nothing, and there's no muscle memory. We're tuning down a step so that Kiger can hit some notes. We're older. Right. Let's not kill ourselves. Let's make this sound as good as we can. But now there's no muscle memory because I'm playing the songs differently.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's not easy. This is not an easy task on that.
Absolutely.
But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of work. I'm nervous because I remember going to see the Starting Line do their first reunion at Irving. What the fuck's the name of the band? A band opened up who I really wanted to see and they crushed it. And Starting Line went on. They were fucking terrible. And it was an awful reunion. And I was so bummed. I was like, it sounds like shit. And I don't want to be that band.
Right.
And we got some work to do.
Now, with everybody living all over the place, I'm assuming at this point you guys are all just practicing individually. Are you planning to have like a week of just rehearsals prior to?
Yeah, at least the week beforehand, full rehearsals. Josh is a phenomenal drummer. If Josh is like, oh, I don't know if I like, shut up. You're fucking Josh is perfection. Jose is a brilliant guitarist. Kenny was a brilliant guitarist. I don't know. I haven't seen Kenny. He was originally like on the face for like or original Houston Call side, but not like when we toured. So I don't know where Kenny's if Kenny's skills are where they were when he started. Kenny's got it too. Josh and Jose are phenomenal. Kiger can shred. He's like he's like I'm earlier on. I was like I'm not humble. Like Kiger's humble. Like we're both to a fault. Like shut up, Kiger. Like you can shred. Like Kiger. Like he has become so chill in his 40s.
Love it.
Kiger can shred. The singing, I don't know where his voice is at, how he treats things, etc. We're going down a step, as we said. Oki, I think I have no idea. Like I don't know if Oki's confident or not. I've got nothing there, and I am like the least confident person with any of it. But I whipped out and I got an acoustic bass so I can sit and practice a tuner, etc. And I'm not as bad as I thought I was going to be. That's my positive.
I love it.
That's a positive.
No, it's totally a positive. It makes you feel good when you can pick it up. I mean, I've picked the bass up a handful of times, and I feel like I've lost all of it, but I can still pick up some of it. If I sit down for a little bit, and it does come back.
Yeah, we got people traveling from literally all over the world.
Yeah,
there's people coming from the United Kingdom for the reunion.
Awesome.
People coming from Japan for the reunion. So the least I can do is fucking figure out how to play 12 songs.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I'm really busy.
And you are really busy. I mean, you're everywhere these days. All right. So we're kind of, I mean, I know we don't have like a timeline, but we
Oh,
both
this
have
would go on
kids.
forever.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd be happy to. But we're not. But so June, what were the day? 23rd and 24th, 24th, 25th?
Something like that.
It's the Friday and Saturday in the June 20th of some sort. I think it's 24th and 20. I don't know. All I know is that I'm leaving, most likely going to be leaving my family vacation a day early so that I can come up.
You're
to the show.
welcome.
Thank you.
I've done family vacation.
Yes.
You're
Well,
welcome.
we do it every year. It's my wife's family, and I said, "Look, this is
You're
something."
welcome.
Thank you. Yes, yes. If Devin, if you're watching, yes. Thank you. But yes, I'm excited. I want to get up there and see and really just hang out with everyone for a couple of days. Looking forward to it. I've already talked to Conti and Josh Polhemus, who's been watching and chiming in throughout the night. We're trying to kind of come up with like, we're gonna stay together somewhere down by the show so that we're in the area or what.
Do it. Do an Airbnb or hotel.
Something, or an Airbnb or something like that. But one of the things I wanted to touch base on too, and we're talking about this, is one of the openers is Dead Bars.
Yes.
And Dead Bars, yeah. And
CJ.
John Maiello and CJ. CJ was in RedRover with me. And that was another reason I was super excited too, because I'm like, dang, they picked up a good band. Now, John and I, Maiello and I, didn't know each other back then. In the late night, he's younger.
Yeah, no, he's younger than me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But but like through our conversations and getting to know each other over the last few years, he really was like, he was really into like the Face First and Houston Calls and like even Hidden in Plain View and like that whole like Western Morris County side of the scene.
Absolutely.
Was he from? Where's John from? Is he from Randolph?
I think he was Rockaway.
Rockaway. Okay. Yeah. Great band. Absolutely love Dead Bars. They're fun as all can be.
So, and I will tell this to John to his face. Their live show versus their record is two totally different things. Yeah. And I can't. If you were like Jarrett, put your rest of your life into figuring this out, I don't think I could do it. When Dead Bars came out, I listened to some songs on iTunes or Spotify, whatever. I'm like, cool, it's good. John Maiello, cool. Them live is amazing.
Absolutely. I haven't seen them live, but I've seen video.
Love John as a frontman. The way he holds the microphone, the way he walks around the stage it's it's endearing is the best word I could use. It is so fucking endearing. It's so good. And you put on the record the next day and you're like, it doesn't capture it. So I don't know if they need a producer to like help them capture that. But I like Dead Bars puts out a new song and I'm like, I don't even want to watch. It's the only band I want to see live and I don't give a shit about what songs they put out. Right. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. And if John listening to it, take it please as constructive criticism. Because John on stage, you're just like, I love him. Yeah. I want him to be my friend. Like, there's something pacing the stage back and forth with the mic and a beer or whatever he's doing. It's so good live. They opened for Souls at White Eagle Hall in Jersey City. And I was like, this is so good. This is so good. Yeah. And it doesn't translate record-wise for them to that level. Records are fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But live, they are. I don't know. Now, this might be somewhat controversial, and I don't care because there's 10 people watching at this point. I don't really care anyway. I always felt that way about At the Drive-In. Like, musically, they were geniuses, very extremely talented band. The records were good. I liked the records a lot. But when I saw them live, I left like
transformed. I felt like I was taken to a different world. I saw the most insane live show I've ever seen. And for a long time, if somebody said, what was the best band you ever saw live? I would say At the Drive-In, until I saw the Foo Fighters. And now I've seen them about 5 times. And every time Dave Grohl is just, he's legendary live. But I always felt that way about At the Drive-In. I always thought that their live show just dwarfed what they put out on record.
I never saw At the Drive-In live. So I learned about At the Drive-In because I was on the street team for
really?
Fearless Records.
Oh, no kidding.
And when they put out In Casino Out, At the Drive-In had one song on a cassette tape. If you recall what cassette tapes are.
Of course I do.
And I remember I forget the name of the song. I'd have to Google it, but it was sick. And I messaged Bob Becker, who owned Fearless Records, and I was screen printing in my basement. And I was like, yo, do you remember the original like gas mask, black and white?
Yeah.
At the Drive-In? So I was like, I only wore hoodies back then because I was a fat kid in high school. I'm still a fat kid, but I'm a fat kid in real life now. And I was like, yo, I want a hooded sweatshirt with that logo on it. Do you have it? He's like, no. I'm like, can I make it? And he's like, yeah. And one of my biggest regrets, like if I pulled all like 10 biggest regrets in life,
sure,
I didn't make it. He's like, make it. Like, just make it. Like, there wasn't like, no, did you have to have a license for that? Or
right.
That. I'm like, yo, I'm just gonna take this. In my high school, there's like this thing I can make the screens and screen print this on the hoodie. This would be sick. But yeah, At the Drive-In was like one of my early like, this is amazing. What is this? Well, so cool.
Like I said, you take that and then you like multiply it by 1,000 and you have their live show. Like Cedric is flying all over the place. He's acrobatic. He's tumbling. He's climbing on speakers and falling off of them without hurting himself. And it looked just so natural and crazy and chaotic. And then Omar and the other guys in the band were just a force. They were just such a force. They did shred. They were excellent.
They were what Coheed is in a sense.
Yeah.
They were the Coheed before Coheed.
Right. Musically, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, cool, man. All right. So here's one last thing now. We haven't talked about this. I know I wanted to get you on and have this cool talk and catch up and conversation, but we are hoping, and with fingers crossed, that maybe sometime in May we can get everybody on a group live stream. Is that still possible?
Absolutely. Houston Calls?
Yeah, Houston Calls prior to the shows.
What if you reunite us? That'd be fun.
I'm going to take credit for it forever. I reunited Houston Calls.
Go for it.
I'm going to take credit for every band to ever reunite from this day forward. Because I'm doing these little streams. All right, yeah. So we're gonna do it.
And if we'll put out an email tomorrow, the next day or whatever, and see if we can get everyone together. It'd be fun.
I think it'd be awesome. Let's get everybody on.
I want to do the 60 bands in 60 minutes thing.
I am down for that. Let's just plan it. Let's plan to do it.
Whoever wants to do it.
All right, we're putting the call out there.
Ask Keith. Ask Keith.
Keith will do it.
Ask Keith to come in.
I will. Keith will do it.
Keith. I don't know if we can get Tur on. Jay Tur would be great.
Yeah.
I think who the best 5 would be.
Let's figure it out and let's do it. That would be a great thing for the NJPP group.
5 Jersey. I mean, Gabe would obviously be huge on it. That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough one to get. I don't know if Evan Winokur would be up for it, but Evan would be a good one.
Is Evan? Can Evan get loud?
I don't know if he would. Evan's always kind of chill. He's just so happy-go-lucky. Yeah, he's too sweet. Yeah, he is really
loud.
Sweet. All right.
Loomis may be Josh may be a little secret card there.
He could be. I hope Josh is still with. Josh, you still listening? Give us a yes in the comments if you're still tuning in.
Josh could be an interesting one. I'll think about it. I'll piece it together. But
let's piece it together. He might have had to put
it's gotta be like people who are willing to say shit.
Absolutely. All right, let's put that together too. So there we go. So we've got a couple of live streams. We're gonna Houston Calls live stream, full interview with the band. And then we'll try to do what'd we say, 60, what'd we say, 6 bands in where were we
60
gonna
bands,
call it?
60 minutes.
6,000 bands and 5 people in 14 seconds. I don't know. We'll pull something together. I love it. Jarrett, thank you for. Oh, wait a minute. Josh Polhemus said my filter was removed a long time ago, so he might be down for that. So,
well, he wrote a song called "You're Such an Asshole."
it's true. So, Josh, all right, we're gonna get this together. All right,
Josh could. I haven't talked to Josh in years. He was always the older guy than me.
Yes, because he's more my age. Because I'm way older, and he's.
How old are you? Why are we?
I'm 47. I'm 47.
47.
Yeah, I was 24 when I was
you
in
signed to
RedRover.
my record label when I was 19, and you were 20.
I was 25. 25.
What were you doing? I had a nice apartment. I guess that's yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. I was older than John and Cameron by like 3 or 4 years. Josh also wanted to add in that he also wrote a song called "Your Mom's a Man." So, and he also said that I'm ancient, you dick. No, but no, I just saw him too. I saw Josh when I was up to help Rob and Kim.
Oh, nice.
I drove up to Vernon and we hung out at his house for a little bit. Went to a coffee shop and got to hang out for a bit. So yeah, he and I have gotten to be good buds over the last few years. So looking forward to.
I always looked up to Ray Turnetti. They were a big band.
Of course,
World for us.
Skaters World. Yes. Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, listen. Keep doing the good work. Keep making amazing food. You take care of that beautiful wife and beautiful child.
Thank you.
And I am just excited to see you a few more times before June, and then of course hoping to give you all a big old bear hug in June in New Jersey.
I just got to play the bass.
You just got to play the bass.
Oh, hey, come play. I'll act like I'm playing.
Josh can shred. He's building a nice little studio in his. He's got a detached garage, and he's built a pretty nice little studio. I walked in there, and it was like when you're in one of those vocal booths, and like there is zero echo in there, like zero reverb. Like I walked in, and I was like my voice just totally changed. The way I heard my voice was like totally different. And I was like,
no, I didn't. Josh and I didn't hang out at that time because again, he was older than me. He was cooler than me with a better band, but we looked up to Ray Turnetti, and I would not like that. Nothing in that. He was a musical talent. I was not. So nothing about that surprises me. So Josh, you want to just come play bass behind the scenes, and I can just fake it and like run out on stage with the wireless and be like, "Oh guys, I'm here. Look at me going." Even though like nothing I'm doing is live, you're playing all my parts. Call me. I'll split guarantee money with you.
Dude, I appreciate this so much. It's always great to talk to you, Jarrett. Thanks for joining, man, and I can't wait to see you again real soon.
Pleasure, Jay. Thank you so much, brother.
All right, buddy. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful night. We'll talk to you guys the next time we do this, or come see Houston Calls in June. See ya.